Okay, everybody, welcome to episode 2 of the Birding Show. It's fantastic to have you all hopefully back again. We should be streaming, should be live. Let's just double check. Yes, we are live. John all the way from somewhere in the Bundus. I don't know where you are. Tell us where you are quickly.
Yeah, no, it's no exciting. How's it, guys? Welcome to the second episode. Yeah, I'm currently in Bethel. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Bethel, I'm not surprised. It's somewhere in Mpumalanga, probably about 2.5 hours away from Joburg. But yeah, you're on work at the moment. But yeah, nothing too exciting on my side.
And we're also joined tonight by a special guest all the way from the Cape, the pelagic expert, the rare bird guy, Trevor Hardaker. Welcome to the Birding Show.
Hi. Thanks very much for having me. Good to be here. Look forward to the chat.
So welcome to everyone who's watching. I see there's 3 people watching. Can we ask you a big favor? If you're watching this online, just hit the share button, share it with somebody, also tag someone, let someone know that the Birding Show is live. Making sure my hands don't move too much. I can do it on the podcast, but not on the live. It looks quite weird. And then also, the way we always like to start the show is to hear from you. Tell us what have been some of the birding highlights for you over the last month. We do the show once a month. What have been some of the highlights? What have been some of the birds that you've seen over the last month? Let us know some of the highlights. Make us jealous. I'm sure some of you have seen some amazing birds, been to some amazing places. We'll share a little bit about that, and we'll also obviously share some of your comments. We are keeping our on Facebook for the comments, and also just share if you have any questions along the way. Trevor's going to be giving us some tips on tern identification, and if you got any questions, any comments, please drop them in the comment section. The idea about the show is not for it to be a lecture. The idea is for this to be a conversation, and what I love about this, we've had Trevor on our podcast quite a few times, but the podcast is we have a conversation between myself and the guest. What I love about the Birding Show, it's once a month where we actually get to interact with the people out there who follow us and the people out there who are supporters. Like last month, the Birding Show is done in proud partnership with Untamed Birding. That's John Kinghorn's company. Fantastic. Go follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and all the channels. Also follow Trevor on all the channels. I'll ask Chris on the side if you can just try and get the link also for your rare birds email. We can pop that into the comment section. But welcome everybody to the second episode. We've had I'm sure all of us have had some great birding. Let me just start with something that happened to me in the last month. This actually happened last week. So, sometimes we try and travel very far to see really cool birds and that. The other day I had quite a cool experience, and John, I was thinking of when you were talking about the whole, when John was on, we've lost John, but he'll be back, I'm sure. But John was speaking about he was part of the Wild Earth Safaris, and people were talking about tracking. And, when I walked outside the other morning and the birds were going crazy, I was telling Trevor when he came on, there was probably like 100, 120 birds hanging around in the trees. I've never seen so many birds. There were about 20, 30 white-eared barbets. There was black-collared barbet, crested barbet. There was olive sunbird. There was a purple-crested Taraka, which normally as soon as you see them, they flitter away. But purple-crested Taraka were hanging around in the tree. And it was just like crazy. These guys were screaming and going wild. And I kind of went and thought, let me just get my binoculars and see what birds there are. And started going through the birds. And all of a sudden, on top of the tree, I noticed this. I noticed there was something interesting. And on the top of one of the trees was actually a green mamba, this huge green mamba. And it was absolutely a fantastic sighting. And I went and got my binoculars and got my camera. It's like if you're into nature, you're running, you see other people see a green mamba, run away. Saw a green mamba, got my camera, and ended up getting some really cool pictures. I mean, if you are sketchish, you might be a bit not like this, but let me show it anyway. See if I can get this on the picture. Share. Hope it's going to share. Is it sharing, Chris? From current slide. There we go. So you can see. Now,
Sorry, everyone. I'm just busy checking. We seem to have lost Adam. Trevor, can you hear me? There we go. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think there is. Okay. So sorry, we seem to have lost Adam. Sorry about that, everybody. Let me do this. We are having all of the world's connectivity issues, but we'll get back to Adam's green mamba and white-eared barbet post shortly. But I think I'm going to just chat to you about where I've been over the past couple of days. Some really exciting things. I was all the way in the Sabi Sands and enjoying some incredible sightings on Djuma Private Game Reserve. So I headed over to of Wild Earth. Some of you might know of Safari Live or Wild Earth, and been thoroughly enjoying what they have to offer there on Djuma. So perhaps you saw me on television, perhaps you watched me on YouTube. Let me know in the comments what you thought. And yeah, it was great fun. Certainly a different experience, and hopefully not too long until I find myself in Djuma again. I see Adam might be back. Let us give it a moment.
Yeah, I'm back again.
There
we
go.
came here.
Sorry,
because
Adam. I
we're
just
on
carried
farm-
on, and I was really chatting about my time now on Djuma in the Sabi Sands. But let's press pause on that, and we can go back to a green barbet. Perhaps Chris might be able to bring up those pictures just again for you.
Yeah, so I don't know where I was lost. Sorry about that, guys. This is the joys of technology. We do apologize. Yeah, so thanks, John and Trevor, for just carrying on there. But yeah, just had a really cool sighting. Should come up again. Hopefully comes up there. And yeah, this massive green mamba hanging on the top of the trees. Managed to get some cool photos. White-eared barbet. You know what amazed me was, like, if you look at the size of the bird compared to the snake's head, I mean, you can see at the back of the tree there, massive green mamba, beautiful, but at the same time, like super, super scary. But the funny part about this was the next day, we obviously go out and I was all excited, got pictures of the green mamba. The neighbors literally got, I think it was buckets of Jik or something, and they went around, they literally were like spraying the trees, trying to like get rid of every single, like, I don't know, like thinking these things, they're going to keep these things away. So it's quite humorous. Like, as a person who loves the bush, it was exciting. For people that didn't love the bush, it was absolutely freaky. So really cool experience in my own garden, green mamba. So really, really cool. Yeah, back to you, John. We've lost John. This is one of those nights. So Trevor, in terms of yourself, what sort of birding have you done over the last couple of months? I know you've been on a couple of pelagics. What's been happening on the pelagics down in the Cape? I said to you before, I've got to do a Cape Town pelagic. I mean, Durban pelagics are awesome, but the pelagics off the Cape are like on another level altogether.
Yeah, no, we've had some excellent pelagic trips. You know, January and particularly February is often our worst time of the year with wind. So we lose a lot of trips because of the weather, unfortunately. But we've been very lucky this year. We got 2 trips out so far this month, which is excellent. And February is normally a fairly quiet time of the year, pelagic-wise. But we've had 2 incredible trips in February. You know, our first trip a few weeks ago, we had, I think, 3 different spectacle petrels on it, and Manx shearwaters and flesh-footed shearwater. And then on the way back, we had a crazy sighting of a red-footed booby around our boat. And then last week we were out again. We had again a couple of spectacle petrels. We had 2 wandering albatrosses, 2 northern royal albatrosses. Just incredible birds for this time of the year. So it's been really exciting out there.
It's amazing, those Cape pelagics. I mean, it's just in terms of Durban, you get like these incredible birds. But you know what amazes me about those Cape pelagics is just the amount of birds you get around. I mean, I just see pictures what you guys share, and it's just like hundreds and hundreds of birds, and it must be like an absolutely insane experience.
Yeah, you know, in the summertime, obviously the actual numbers are lower because a lot of birds are breeding down in the south. But the species list is higher because it's been bumped up by all the northern migrants. But you'll see a few thousand birds out there in the winter time, middle of winter. It's just absolutely mind blowing to get in behind a trawler where you can have 5,000 pintado petrels flying around the boat. It's just the most incredible experience.
Just before I hand over to John to tell us a little bit more about his incredible, I know you started telling us, I don't know what he said because I was offline, but just some comments on the comment section. Gabby mentioned that she saw a huge green mamba in Mshlanga Lagoon. Amazing to see. Kenneth Gamble, highlight of February would have been visiting Marievale at last and seeing a pied avocet for the first time. Fantastic bird. I mean, just really crazy looking, but beautiful, beautiful species. So John, you're like quite famous. We need to get your autograph. Maybe we'll get you a birding life cap in exchange for your autographs. Tell us about your, yes, you've been doing some crazy. I was watching you. I just was thinking, it must be a lot of pressure, birding in front of thousands of people, trying to find birds, crazy, dude.
Yeah, so I had started, but yeah, I mean, just going back on that, it was very, very stressful. I'm not gonna lie to you. The funniest thing, it was I think the first afternoon that I had my interview drive, it was only about 28, 29 degrees Celsius. Everybody's calm, cool, calm, collected, not sweating. And it looked like I'd run 10 kilometers. It was just, I was soaked. It seriously looked like I'd gone for a dip in the pool. But it's really, really cool. I think the most difficult thing for me was trying to. Thankfully, I'd gone on a couple of drives beforehand with one of the guides / naturalists who's currently there, Steve Falconbridge. Incredible guy. Took me under his wing, pun intended, and taught me the ropes of live presenting. And I think that was the biggest challenge, because you constantly have a mic in your ear. So you've got mission control, who's all the way back in Johannesburg, who is busy feeding you questions and comments and on top of counting you down to ad breaks that they have on their side. And so it's managing that, I think, which was the most interesting thing. But I was really blessed with sightings. My first solo drive, my first morning drive, I had a leopard, which was great. A leopard by the name of Mawati. He's the dominant male there at the moment. And then that afternoon, I followed up the other vehicle with the other naturalist, James Henry. That same morning, I got Mawati, got one of their resident females, a female leopardess called Lalamba, and followed up on the area and happened to spend basically the better part of 2.5 hours with a very confiding leopardess. We watched her hunt a scrub hare, and she put on an absolute show. So yeah, it was incredible. And like I said earlier, before the connectivity dropped, hopefully it's not going to be too long if I get another opportunity to go back there. And yeah, I think it's incredible. It definitely puts it into perspective. It's different. It's very different to Kruger. Somebody who'd never been into the sands before, the Sabi sands, that is, it was completely different to Kruger. So phenomenal to say the least. But the birding was good. I think waking up every morning and having red helmet sharks fly over the camp was a highlight. I was constantly listening for thick-billed cuckoo. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to find one in the not too distant future.
And then John, how was it to actually have to get the cameraman on? Because I mean, I noticed one of the ones I saw you, I think was a hornbill, and remember you said it landed on the road, and then you can see I did watch, and then it took off and it landed in the tree. I can imagine it must be quite tricky. I know when you do these bird club walks, and there's this bird, and you try and point it out above this branch and say which branch, and you got to kind of not just present, but get the cameraman onto the bird. So how was it working with the cameraman? Was that a lot of fun, or how? I mean, I'm sure they're fantastic cameramen. How was that experience?
They are incredible. Really, they are incredible. Remember, these guys have spent years as part of the Wild Earth team, so they've gotten to learn each and every single naturalist slash guide who's come onto the show, and kind of got a gist as to how they go about it, what they're normally going to focus on, the kind or type of shots that they like. Are they going to get off the vehicle a lot? The tone of their voice and when they're going to roughly finish speaking, which is going to cause them to pan somewhere else. and not sit there awkwardly pan on your face. The guys are, and they are absolutely incredible. Seriously, some of the best cameramen that I've ever seen. But remember, these guys have been working on television sets, television series sets. They've been working on reality shows. I mean, some of the cameramen there were on the worldwide Survivor. I mean, they'd gone and filmed Survivor in the US, in Southeast Asia, and in our South African Survivor as well. So they're really, really sharp. And when you say, and the camera rigs that they have are incredible as well. So the minute you direct them to a spot, they pick up on it really, really quickly. And I mean, that's why you get the shots that you do. The entire back of that game viewer that you're on is rigged up with a camera setup. So they have a complete horseshoe shape seating area with a massive rig in the middle, and they can move around rapidly if they need to. So no, they're top notch and down to earth guys, absolutely incredible. The amount of laughs that I had with the two gents that I was working with, Paul and Panda, they were flipping incredible, and yeah, all around just a great time. That's the thing. It's not just they're not just it's they make the show. Actually, if it wasn't for them, you'd be looking at some random guy and girl's face all the time and not looking at wildlife. So no, they're sharp. They're really sharp.
So just 2 comments there. Gabby said, you were great, John. Such a natural. I know just behind the scenes, John, you've got a youth birding podcast episode with Gabby coming up, and I heard it was a fantastic episode. Her mom told me she did such a good job, so can't wait to hear that episode. And then a special request from Vanna van der Walt asked, would it be possible to see a reenactment of John's Battalier impersonation? Trevor, do you vote for that?
No, that's not happening. It was a one-time only.
Come on, John. Come on.
Yeah. I will. I've already had requests. That was so. The thing is what Steve had said to me. Steve being the guy that trained me up. He said to me, "You need to try and connect with the viewers, and you need to do something memorable." And at the time, there was the Our Kids slot that they slotted into.
John, can I say this quickly? I'm going to push pause. Okay. How about this? Let's put a challenge out. We've got the listeners growing up. How about if we can get 1,000 Rand donated to BirdLife South Africa during this episode, you'll do it. How's that?
Yeah. Or for conservation.
So, literally, Chris is going to try find the BirdLife South Africa donate link. If you donate, just put there 100 or whatever. If we get it to 1,000, John will do the Battalier. Come on, this is for conservation. I mean, bird of the year. Think about it. This is the bird of the year. If we can raise 1,000 Rands, if you can put $500, whatever. If this is worth it, Vanna, go for it. Put some bucks where your mouth is not going to come to us. Give it straight to BirdLife South Africa. If we raise 1,000 Rand, so just tell us if you raise it, even if you want to drop us a WhatsApp, whatever. Just let us know, and just drop us. Let us know that you've donated, and then I'm sure John would be happy to do it for Battalier conservation. But yeah, the pressure's on you guys, eh? So if they don't do it, John, no pressure, and then you don't have to feel guilty about it, eh?
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm happy to accept the challenge. It's in the good name of conservation. I just need to put a disclaimer for those who happen to miss it. It resembled more of a baby rhino trying to learn its first couple of footsteps than it did a Battalier. So, but I'm happy to do it to celebrate Bird of the Year. But yeah, the whole point of that was to try and connect with the kids. And surprisingly, there is a host of kids. I mean, there's teachers across the world that sign their classes up literally to watch the show busy unfolding. So you're constantly getting kids. Some of the kids' questions are incredible. I mean, James was on drive that same day as well. One of the questions was, where do reindeer go after Christmas? So it's very cute, actually. So no, just doing the best to try and connect with the youngsters. But yeah, I'll try and I'll accept the challenge in the event that somebody decides to graciously donate 1,000 Rand to BirdLife South Africa. Challenge accepted.
Even a little bit. So I'll even put a little bit into it to make sure that we get closer. So if you do donate, even if you want to just even drop us an inbox message on the Chris is on the side. He'll keep an eye on our inbox on the BirdLife. Let us know if you've donated. If we get to 1,000 Rand, yeah, John will do it. So John, over to you. You're going to just talk about some of the cool rare birds that have been seen, and you and Trevor can have a cool chat about this. There's been some super cool birds seen over the last month. I know last month we had our moment in the sun in Toti, so we'll hand it over to you guys and talk about other birds and that have been seen in the region.
Cool, no, 100. So forgive me if I'm looking directly to my left. I literally, if you see the primitive setup that I have here for recording tonight's episode, I think I deserve an award. So my phone is currently precariously positioned on a thing of apples. So I'm not looking away at anything and losing my attention. All right, so I've got a list of a couple of cool things since the last episode, one of which happened to be finally a lifer for me. So very, very stoked about that long-staying lesser noddy currently at Richards Bay. So yeah, very, very cool. The day that Aaron and I ended up going down, we were being blasted away by the wind. But yeah, the bird was still there. It was busy putting on a show. So I was happy to finally get that one. The brown booby at Lambert's Bay seems to have come back. So I think on Thursday, Trevor, you can confirm whether or not that's true. But I think today's already Thursday. Hey? That's Thursday, right. He then somebody submitted on iNaturalist that the brown booby had returned to Lambert's Bay. Of course, Lambert's Bay being Bird Island, which is obviously where the famed Australasian gannets are hanging around as well. But no further sightings of those that we know of. Then, of course, of current popularity at Platboom Beach, near Cape Town is a very confiding American golden plover, which is busy putting on a nice show. I see some stunning pictures coming out of there. And then, of course, a peculiar record of a red phalarope on a farm dam near Potchefstroom. I wish I could tell you which farm dam. I just know that it's near Potchefstroom. So for those birders / varsity students who are too busy partying, I strongly suggest you go and find the red phalarope that's currently hanging around there. And of course, everybody, for further details on all of these sightings, please sign up to the South African Rare Bird News Alert. I see that Chris has posted in the comment section the link on how you may join that. And of course, Trevor on the show today heads that all up. So if you have a Twitch or feel a Twitch for a Twitch, then that is the platform that you need to sign up on to make sure that you don't miss out on any rare birds. Those are instant alerts and a roundup of all the national rarities as a whole in one report. I think is it bi-weekly, Trevor?
Yeah, twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays.
Mondays and Thursdays, folks. Mondays and Thursdays. So I think, Adam, that's about it. It hasn't been an adrenaline pumping past month for rarities, but I mean, let's see what happens as we start moving into winter. Obviously, this is time of year where stuff starts moving north, and some of them get confused and then come back down south in a phenomenon known as reverse migration. So eyes to the skies, everybody, and make sure that in the event you do find something, contact Trevor so that we can get the news out and share in that Twitch as well.
Sorry, just to let everybody know, just so you know that putting my money where my mouth is, I put $100 towards this course. So you put money in, making sure we're getting there. So put some money. This is not going to come to us straight. There's the link there. Put directly to that. Let's donate to BirdLife South Africa. Bird of the Year just happens to be the Battalier. And you will, before 8 o'clock, see John's famous Battalier impersonation. Come on, let's support a good cause. 1,000 Rand gets you on. Chris is going to make a comment here.
Hey, John. Gabby sent a comment. She says, John, do you know of any record of Western Osprey in the Vaal area?
Gabby, so Western Osprey has a tendency to turn up every summer in sort of the greater, I want to say greater Gauteng, but obviously the Vaal is just outside of the Gauteng. But they have a tendency to turn up at these like permanent water sources and along rivers as well. So it's not report worthy, so to say, but it is definitely something of interest. So Gabs, if you are on any of your local birding groups and stuff, I mean, I would still share it. I know a couple of the ladies and gents who do find ospreys here in the wider Gauteng area. They do like sharing that information. They're not common. They're really not common. So it's definitely of interest. but wouldn't particularly say a rarity. But it's an awesome sighting. If you're asking that question because you found it, well done. It's really, really cool. Love a good osprey.
And then I saw another comment from Kenneth Gamble. Interesting record for Kruger today was an honest chat in the Skakuza area.
Yeah, no, that one even had me stumbled. I must be honest. Honest chat in. Sorry, a little bit of a breakup in signal there. I moved my phone away from the apples. It must be the apples that are signal conductors. Yeah. The Arnott's chat in Skakuza is a crazy record. I mean, Trevor, you'll agree as well. But Arnott's chat in Kruger favors these well-developed Mopani woodlands. So they do that because they need those nesting cavities, sort of the hollowed out sections of these large mature Mopanis. You don't get those in small Mopani woodlands. So to find it hanging around Skakuza is the Staff Village is a fantastic record for Kruger. Normally, the most southern part you'll get Arnott's chat in Kruger would be Puna Maria, that general area. Anything south of that is quite a record. I suspect there may be some records sort of around the Shingwetsi and Mopani area probably, but all the way down south in Skakuza is really that's a bit of a lost Arnott's chat.
Yeah, and then just Ava Momsen, I hope I'm saying your name right, said I finally saw the long-staying vagrant Cape Starling at Neptune's Dairy, Cape Point, a week or so ago. It's always funny how Cape Starling is a vagrant in the Cape. Interesting. But yeah, so Trevor, it's good to have you. I know you've been quite quiet up to now. We had an interesting record in Toti. Some cool birds are turning up. Last year, we obviously got the thrush nightingale. Really cool birds are turning up. Last year was the Christmas Island frigate bird. And a bird came up on one of our local WhatsApp groups. We spoke about this in the last episode. And it was later on identified as an elegant tern. Anyway, it was only reported a year later. So a few weeks ago, Tyron Doll went down birding on the beach, and he managed to see got an elegant tern. We ended up going to from beach to beach. We chatted about that in the last episode. So I've asked John what was happening. I've asked Trevor, sorry, what happened was a lot of people were coming on and they were seeing lesser-crested terns, and there were a lot of photos were going on. I know John, Trevor, sorry, you had hundreds of pictures of lesser-crested terns coming through. And I asked John just to talk about the difference between these two birds. I mean, it's a fantastic species. And I think when it comes to tern roost, maybe you can talk about this a little bit, John, about Trevor. Sorry, I'm keeping it, John, about how to, maybe bird through these, because tern roosts are an amazing place to discover rare birds. So Trevor, over to you. I'm going to try to keep up with you at the PowerPoint, and when you're ready, I can start sharing. But yeah, if you want to just chat about the difference between these two species.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. The one big difference, obviously, for us in the Cape compared to you guys in Toti and anywhere else in Natal, is that we search through tern roosts looking for any orange-billed tern, whereas your tern roosts would have lots of orange-billed terns in them with lesser cresteds, which are fair, maybe not so much at Toti, but further up the coast. Lesser crested.
John, sorry, just so Trevor, it was interesting that because when that was how Tyron got into it. In Toti, a lesser crested tern is a bird that we get on Toti, but if I'm doing a year list, you actually work quite hard to get a lesser crested tern. It's not there all the time, and he happened to see quite a lot of them. And I think that's how he got into it. It was interesting because it was literally like we've never seen that many lesser-crested terns in Toti before.
Yes. Yeah, look, so, generally, you scan through a tern roost, and for me, the thing I'm looking at is just a quick look at bill colors. So I'm going through and I'm just seeing yellow bills for greater crested swift terns, black bills with yellow tips, sandwich terns, and then the smaller, darker bill terns, commons or whatever else is there at the time. And then if I pick up an orange bill tern, it's immediately an interesting bird for where we are in the Cape anyway. But I don't really concentrate on the bill after that. I've picked it out as an orange bill tern, and that's kind of where I leave it. There is a difference in bill shape between the two, but it's really subtle. Elegant tern has a slightly longer, and marginally thinner bill, and it's also slightly more droopy. But it's such a subtle difference, and even in the colors of the bills, you get some elegant terns that can have the same tone of orange as lesser crested. There's really no difference in the color, whereas other elegant terns can have really reddish tones to their bill. So maybe you just want to start sharing those photos, Adam, if it's possible.
Should be coming up now.
Yep, I hope everybody can see that. So this is a lesser crested tern, obviously in a tern roost here in the Cape. And so the thing that I look at is the back color of the bird, and I try and compare it to the birds around it. So you can see the bird standing directly behind this bird is a swift tern or greater-crested tern. It's got quite a dark back, and the orange-billed tern has a similarly colored back to that. Whereas if you take the bird to the right of it, that's a sandwich tern, you can see it's got a much paler back. And so lesser crested is very similar to greater crested in the tone of the back color, much darker gray, and obviously darker than a sandwich tern. I think the next photo also shows that quite nicely. Lesser crested in the middle there, some greater cresteds just directly behind it with a very similar tone of gray on the back, and then in front to the right and to the left, not directly in front, those are commons, but diagonally in front to the right and the left are sandwich terns. And you can see that they're much paler on the back than the lesser crested tern is. Yeah, the next shot is just to show the bird in flight. If you are lucky enough to see these birds in flight, a lesser crested tern obviously has a bit of gray going down onto the rump as well. So it's not always very clear to see this. And I think one needs to be careful about the light that you're also viewing these birds in. Harsh midday light or very gloomy light can make things also appear darker or lighter than what they really are. So you need to keep all of that in mind when you're looking at it. I think the next photo shows an elegant tern. Yes, elegant tern. And behind it is a greater crested tern. You can see that the elegant tern has a much paler back, much paler gray back than the greater crested tern, more in line with the sandwich terns that are standing in front in this photo. This particular individual has a bit of a story to it. It was actually run in France in 2003 for the first time. But it was seen there the year before, 2002. So this particular, and I photographed this bird last year at Macassar, this photo. So this particular bird is 22 years old at least. And another interesting bit of history, some of you may be aware that a while back, there were a lot of very loud opinions going around that everything that was getting seen here were hybrids and not really true elegant terns. This particular individual was actually trapped along with, I think, 4 others in France, and they took DNA of these birds, and they all came back as pure elegant terns. This one as well. So there's no discussions about a hybrid. This is a pure elegant tern based on actual DNA evidence. If you just want to pop through to the next shot, Adam. There's another elegant tern, again, just showing the very pale gray back compared to the darker gray of the greater crested tern. And you can see that bird's bill color is not dissimilar to a lesser crested tern. It's quite a sort of pale orange color. Whereas the bird in the next photo has a far more reddish tinge to it. So if you get a bird with a bill color like this, then it's very, very obvious that it's an elegant tern, because lesser crested tern never shows as richer bill color, as this bird is shown, with those reddish tones in it as well. But again, the pale back is very obvious. So you're basically looking, you've got a sandwich tern with an orange bill, then you know it's an elegant tern. Otherwise, you've got a small swift tern or granite-crested tern with an orange bill, then you know it's a lesser-crested tern. And then just the last shot of the elegant tern in flight, showing that it doesn't really have any significant amount of gray on the rump. It's mostly white on the rump. So that is another feature, but again, not always that obvious to see unless you get really good flight views of the bird. Not sure if
That's sorry, Trevor. Sorry, I'm saying this is a tricky bird. I mean, I haven't seen this one either, but I mean, it's not because of a lack of trying. I think these birds they turn up. I mean, how regularly annually would you say these birds are busy turning up at the moment?
Man, John, in the Cape, they're probably annual now, but they're very, very tough to pin down. You know, that they will be found at a tern roost at Strandfontein, and then the next day they'll be seen at Macassar. 2 days later, they'll be at Royals. So they tend to move around quite widely. It's not like they're very religious about which roost they're in. Sometimes you get lucky and an individual will come to the same roost, you know, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. But a lot of the time they move around quite widely over an area. So you have to cover extensive areas to find out where they are.
So folks, if you still need elegant tern, find yourself not having had a look for one yet or added it to your Southern African list, even more reason why you need to join South African Red Bird News Alert so that you can keep abreast of these updates. Thanks for that explanation, Trevor. Terns as a whole are tricky. I think even the most experienced birders struggle with them. You just get one dodgy non-breeding tern and it throws a cat amongst the pigeons. So yeah, definitely tricky. But let's get into, folks, if you have any questions, please, you must just ask, and then we'll have the team monitor them, and then we'll just see if we can answer them. We'll press pause and then answer them for you. So give the lesser-crested elegant debate some thoughts, and if you have questions, just shout.
I think what we can do there, maybe Chris can just pop a poll in, and then ask if anyone has seen a lesser-crested tern. Just pop a poll in there. Have you seen a lesser-crested tern? Or sorry, not a lesser-crested. Have you seen an elegant tern or not? Chris will do a poll there, and let's see how many people have managed to see it. And yeah, over to you, John.
Perfect. So vote in that poll, folks. Let's see what the numbers are looking like. Yeah, so Trevor, I think the most exciting thing that we have you here for tonight is your trip to Australia. So I mean, I've been followed some of the updates whilst you were in the field, obviously on BioChat, and it was nauseating at times, if I'll be quite honest, because it's incredible. It really is incredible, and I think a lot of people don't think of Australia as this incredible birding destination. Certainly not your everyday budding international birder. The first thing that they want to do is head to the neotropics or head to Southeast Asia or even do East Africa. But Australia doesn't really come to mind. Well, certainly not for me. So what was the main reason for your trip to Australia? Because I see you mostly did New South Wales and Western Australia. Was it a planned trip? Do you have family there, or was it just general birding?
No family. It was a birding trip. So I had been to Australia before, and I'd done the sort of eastern coastal strip in the past. So I wanted to go 2 areas: Southwest Australia, because there's a bunch of endemic birds in that corner of Australia that aren't anywhere else on the continent. And then actually to Victoria and into the southern part of New South Wales. Victoria, there were a bunch of birds there that I wanted to see, which I hadn't seen before. But the main driver was to get into the southern part of New South Wales to go and look for a little nocturnal bird that's just an incredibly special bird and a family all on its own. So that was the main reason for going over that side. I think, Australia is a as a birding destination, you know, it's a massive chunk of land with probably only around 900 species in total. If you put that into relation to Southern Africa could probably fit into Australia, I don't know, 5-6 times in terms of the size of land. And you have to do a lot of traveling. The distances are massive in Australia. You know, we were there 3 weeks and split roughly half and half between the Southwest and Victoria. I think we drove a total of 4,700 kilometers. And I mean, we hardly made a little dent in the total map of Australia. And also in the 3 weeks we were there, we only saw around 280 species, and that was hardcore birding every day, all day. You know, it's not the kind, I mean, in 3 weeks, if you covered that sort of distance in South Africa, you would be looking at 400 to 500 species of birds. By the same token, if you did 3 weeks in Colombia and covered the same sort of distance, you'd be doing 700 or 800 species. You know, it's all relative, but there's some very special species there that you can't find anywhere else. And for world birding, Australia also has a number of bird families that are either endemic to the Australasian region or endemic to Australia itself. So a very special place to go to.
Sorry,
Can
Trevor,
you
I
imagine?
was busy going through some of your pictures, and it's incredible. It really, really is incredible. And we're going to pull those slides up now because it's going to take us through them. So there's an indication as to, these were all sent to us by Trevor, by the way, folks. But we're just going to go through, Trevor, I'm going to have them go through, have Chris flick through the slides slowly but surely. And then when things stick out, you can just shout. But there's an indication as to where you were. So really a limited patch. But I mean, what was the total amount of species for your trip, bird-wise?
It's not high, like 280 species for the total time that we were there. And we didn't miss a lot. So as I said, we went to the Southwest first, and that was about targeting endemics. There are, I think, 17 endemics and 4 near endemics in the Southwest. This is one of the endemics, the Western Rosella. It's obviously a type of parrot. And this was quite an interesting bird, very furtive and secretive for a parrot. I thought, you know, a lot of the parrots in Australia or anywhere are loud and just obvious. You see them everywhere. These Western Rosellas were in the forests. They were quiet, shy, furtive, and we didn't see that many of them. And when we did find them, you know, they were just suddenly there, sitting on a branch in front of us. They weren't squawking or anything like that. Really, really odd for parrots. And Chris, if you want to go to the next one, yeah, this is a red-winged fairy wren. So fairy wrens are an entire family of birds endemic to the Australasian region. So not just Australia, but also New Guinea and a couple of the other islands around there. But red-winged fairy wren is just found in the southwest of Australia. Then there were 2 cockatoos that were endemic. This is the Bowden's black cockatoo, and then the next one is Carnaby's black cockatoo. Both of these, again, just found in the southwestern corner of Australia. So really important birds to get in that part of the country. This next bird is called a western bristlebird. So bristlebirds are another endemic Australian bird family. And this guy is actually a serious skulker. So we were very surprised that he jumped out. It was very early in the morning. The light's not great, as you can see. That he actually jumped out into the path in front of us, gave us a nice opportunity. Right in the south of where we were, there's a place called Shane's Beach, where we went, and we had to target 3 endemic birds there. This one and noisy scrub bird, and black-throated whipbird. They're all serious skulkers. Yeah, so again, another endemic here, there was the western wattlebird, and that's also the western Karela. I mean, not the most imaginative names, western this and western that, but they're all endemics. This next one is also a beautiful parrot, a red-capped parrot, which again, an endemic to the southwest of Australia. You can get them from Perth all the way down to Albany. And in fact, I think this photo I actually took in Albany. If you want to pop to the next one, please, Chris. This is another endemic, the western shrike tit. So shrike tit's another completely endemic family to Australia. So I'm not sure if all the listeners know, but I mean, we've got in the world, as things currently stand, I think it's 11,032 species, and they're divided up into 253 bird families. So whilst there are some people that can get to see almost all the birds in the world, I mean, Peter Kessner has just become the first person to get 10,000 species in the world. A lot of birders do try and see as many of the bird families, at least one representative of each bird family in the world. So it makes sense that you have to go to Australia to go and see these because they occur nowhere else. Basically, like world birders coming to South Africa because they want to see rock jumpers and sugar birds, etc.
And do you keep track of those? Sorry, do you keep track of those? And how many you've personally seen in your world, your quest for all?
Yeah, John, I mean, I've still got a way to go. I think I'm on about 230 now of the 253. There's, you know, every time the IOC updates and they split off something into another new family, and now we've got to go to, you know, we've got separate birds in separate families in Puerto Rico, and you know, there's just little singletons stuck all over the place that one's got to go and try and see. It becomes very difficult to keep up with it. So I've still got a little way to go.
Well, that's still heftily impressive. I mean, no, that's incredible.
So yeah, this is another one of the endemics. It's called a red-eared firetail. It's an Astrildid, so it's in the same family as our local waxbills and firefinches and things like that. Beautiful little bird though. And then just a couple of the near endemics in the southwest. This is the rufous tree creeper. Again, another family called the Australasian tree creepers, which are just endemic to that region. And then the next one is the western whistler. Then so that was one of the main reasons for going to the southwest. And then we went across to Victoria, where we just spent a little time birding in general. My wife had never been to Australia before, so it was her final continent, which was great for her as well. It's not often that Australia is the last continent a person goes to, but it was her
especially for
one.
South Africans.
Yes. And obviously she'd never seen a lot of these birds, and they're quite special Australian birds. So these are the Australian fairy wrens. Again, this is the superb fairy wren, and the next one is the splendid fairy wren. So they're really special birds. I mean, Australians know how to do LBJs. I mean, this is effectively like a prinia or a cisticola, except it's just it's like a prinia on LSD, effectively. Really, really cool birds. Then they've also got a family of birds called the pardalotes, which are weird little, I suppose, similar to white eyes in a way. I don't know what else to relate them to. This is the spotted pardalote. And we saw two species while we were in Australia. And then again, another bristlebird. This is the rufous bristlebird, much like the western bristlebird that we saw in the southwest. Also a bit of a skulker, but again, we got lucky with this guy showing really, really nicely. This is a thing called a mistletoe bird. So it's not the mistletoe bird itself doesn't occur outside Australia, but it's part of a family called the flower peckers, which are, I suppose, an Eastern Hemisphere family. So they occur through the whole Australasian region. So if you've been to Asia before, you would have probably seen flower peckers there, or anywhere in the Australasian region. And this is, in fact, the only flower pecker in Australia, the mistletoe bird. One of the other big families in the Australasian region are the megapodes. And I guess this is one of the more special ones to see. This is the mallee fowl. So mallee is like it's kind of like a eucalyptus tree, but it's a multi-stemmed eucalypt tree, and not that high. And it's quite a special habitat in Australia, and these mallee fowl obviously live in that habitat. A really cool bird to see. A lot of people go to Australia and miss this bird, so we were extremely chuffed to be able to see this. Then this is the eastern shrike tit. If you remember, we spoke about the western shrike tit earlier. So this is the eastern counterpart, another one of that special family. Shrike tits used to be part of another family. I can't actually remember now. And then they went and split them into their own family, which just adds another endemic family to the Australian region. The next one is also part of a very special family called the Australian mud nesters. There's only 2 species in it, something called a white-winged chough, and then this bird called the apostle bird. And their behavior is quite similar to our babblers. They move around in these groups. They call, they do these sort of group calls and things quite similar to our local babblers. It reminded me quite a lot of that, in fact. Next one is another rather special bird, Australian owlet nightjar. So again, another family, not an owl, not a nightjar. It's an owlet nightjar, which are their own families, and they occur throughout most of the Australasian region and into parts of Asia. But there's only 1 species in Australia itself, this one. It is a nocturnal bird, but you do occasionally get lucky to find them during the day.
Trevor, before we talk about this one that Chris has just talked to now, because I suspect that's going to answer one of the questions we've just had on Facebook, is what was your favorite bird species to photograph in Australia out of all the ones that you saw? From Gabby.
That's a tough one, John. As the birder, this would have been my best bird of the trip, for sure. As a person just looking for a aesthetically pleasing bird to photograph, it undoubtedly would have been pink cockatoo.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Gabby, hopefully that answers your question. Pink cockatoo was Trevor's best one, and then Trevor Ivor Momsen asks, did you manage to photograph or see a laughing kookaburra?
Yes. Laughing kookaburra is in fact a very common bird in Australia, and you hear them all over the place. And yes, I did get photos of laughing kookaburra, so that was quite cool.
Ivor, hopefully that answers your question. In fact, talking about laughing kookaburras, sorry, Trevor, I'm going to pause you there. I'm going to counter challenge Adam here. In the event that somebody trumps the whatever amount that happens to be raised, pending the outcome of my Battlier impersonation, obviously all funds going to BirdLife South Africa. If we manage to hit, if somebody's willing to match that, then I believe I would like to obviously ask Adam for his best laughing kookaburra impression in honor of our guest here today and the wonderful birding that is in Australia. So, Adam, you can ponder over that. Chris has posted the BirdLife South Africa donation link. All funds brought in from today will go to BirdLife South Africa and their amazing conservation efforts. And Adam, you can't turn this down. It's on conservation.
Well, what we can do, I just thought about this, is we can be very generous because we passionate supporters of BirdLife South Africa. So let's put it this way. if we don't raise the R1,000, John's going to kill me now. Luckily, you're far away. I think what we'll do, we'll pop a link on, but we can't do 1,000. Let's do it for 2,000. We'll think about an amount. And if we raise that before the next show, we will both do our impressions. How's that, John?
Perfect. That sounds like an absolute plan.
We will talk about the amount after. So if they don't get the R1,000 now, I know that someone did donate 100 Rand. Also cool. Thank you.
I know Werner, sorry to interject. Werner sent me a proof of payment, screenshot from BirdLife.
How much did he give?
So, I don't know. And
maybe you can just drop me a message and tell you how much.
Yeah, so I'll ask him. Werner, just drop me a message. Let me know how much. It doesn't show on the proof of payment.
But if we don't do it, we will do it in the next episode. But the amount's going to go up because we've got a whole month to raise the money.
100%.
And it's all going to a good cause. Not coming to us, not going to John's Mercedes-Benz fund. It's going straight to BirdLife South Africa. Chris has popped the link in. Okay.
Perfect. All right. Sorry,
and
Trevor, for the comedic.
Kenneth Gamble has also given 100.
Perfect. Thanks, Kenneth. Thanks, everybody. Werner, Kenneth, everybody who's donated. Adam, you as well. All right. Now that we've had our comic ad break, Trevor, you can take us through this awesome bird that's on the slide at the moment. It's something that, in the event that I were to go to Australia again, and now as a more serious internationally focused bird, I really would potentially look at selling body parts to see this bird. This is a mind blower.
Yeah, so this is the Plains Wanderer. It's a bird in its own separate family. It's the only member of its family. It's classed as a wader, a shorebird, but it looks more like a button quail than anything else. It just doesn't really tie up to anything. As I said, it's a nocturnal bird. It's out in the deserts of the southern part of New South Wales. And we traveled out there. It was 35 to 40 degrees Celsius for the few days that we were in the area. And the night that we had set up to go and look for this bird, as we drove out into the desert, it clouded over and the heavens opened and it started pouring and pouring with rain, which is not what you obviously expect in the desert. So we sat in the car for probably about an hour to an hour and a half, waiting for it to subside to just a sort of steady, light rain, and then got out and started walking. And the local guy that we were with was quite excited about this because he said, this will help because it's cooled everything down now. And I couldn't quite understand why. And then all these guys hauled up thermal scopes, and then it totally made sense. It's not like in South Africa where we're perhaps a little bit antiquated, where we go out with our torches and spotlights and start scanning around. So you walk in total darkness and everybody's looking through thermal scopes and to pick up the heat of this bird. And obviously with all the rain that had come down, it had cooled everything down dramatically. And within, 20 minutes, if that, we had our first Plains Wanderer. The guy just stopped and he said, I've got one. It's right in front of us here. Now you're staring in the pitch dark. You can't see anything. He says, are you guys ready? And then he puts on his spotlight and bam, there's this Plains Wanderer standing right in front of you.
Amazing.
Looking a bit wet and traveled, of course, but yeah, just an incredible experience. Very, very chuffed to have been able to see this bird. And then just quickly, a few others. I mean, some of the special birds, like these banded stilts, it's a very special Australian bird. And the next one, the red-necked avocet. So I know somebody was talking about having seen pied avocet. So this is the Australian version, red-necked avocet. It's a really nice bird. The next shot is just a very interesting looking duck. It's called a Cape Barren goose. Just a weird gray goose with this luminous neon green sear over the bill. Yeah. And then this is a Mallee emu wren. So it's one of the smaller wrens related to the fairy wrens again, restricted to the Mallee habitat. And then the next bird is a chestnut quail thrush. So quail thrushes and jewel babblers are part of a family on their own, and typically they're serious skulkers, but some of the quail thrushes in Australia are not as skulky as their counterparts in other parts of the Australasian region. We went to Papua New Guinea 2 years ago now, and the jewel babblers and quail thrushes there are near on impossible to see. You can hear them calling. They literally walk around you in the forest, and you don't see a feather on the birds. Then just Australia doesn't have very many big raptors at all, and this is their largest, the wedge-tailed eagle, which you saw quite a few times. And then just lastly, obviously, it's known for its multitude of parrots and parakeets and lorikeets and cockatoos and things. So I just thought I'd quickly show a few photos. This is rainbow lorikeet. It's one of the commonest birds around. They're literally everywhere. It's a common garden bird. Then again, sulfur-crested cockatoos, also extremely common, as is the next one, galah, which is also a kind of cockatoo. So these birds are common garden birds. You literally have hundreds of them in your garden. The next ones are all a little bit more difficult to find. You've got to go to specific areas. So this is the gang cockatoo. It's a male bird with the red on the head. And the females lack that. And then, although it's a bit weird, it was just very special to get to see these things in the wild, cockatiels. You know, you grow up with seeing these things in cages. So to actually get to see them, you know, you're walking along and you suddenly hear a call and you think, man, I've heard that before. And then it comes in and there are these cockatiels sitting in front of you. And the same as the next one, budgerigours, we would call budgies, you know. And these are wild budgerigours. So they only occur in this green color in the wild. So all the blues and other variants that you see in cages are sort of domestic variants. They don't occur in those colors in the wild. It's just this green body color with the yellow face. And then the last one, there we go for Gabby. That's a pink cockatoo. So that was, from a photographic point of view, that was probably the bird that I enjoyed photographing the most. It just blew me away when it lifted its crest like that. I really, really enjoyed that bird.
Stunning. No, I mean, Trevor, these pictures are incredible. I mean, obviously I've seen as you started putting, I'm sure a lot of the viewers that have seen as you started putting them on social media now, but I think we've had a bit of a sneak peek into some photos that haven't been posted yet. And
yeah,
that's incredible. It really is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. And, you know, just to surmise this and wrap it up a little, in the event that somebody wants to head to Australia, any advice for somebody specifically wanting to plan their first trip to Australia? What field guide would one use? I know there's, I'm not too sure which one you used. I know there's that blue Birds of Australia book or the Australian Field Guide. Any suggestions for mammal references and bird references that they could potentially get?
Yeah, so hang on, give me 2 seconds. Oh, it's not working. There we go. It's going to be all mirrored now, but it's called the Australian Bird Guide. And it's by a whole host of people. It's a fantastic field guide. Quite a large book, but that's the one we use. It's the most up to date. Definitely a good one. I'm trying to think. The mammals is called Field Guide to the Mammals of Australia, 3rd edition. Again, no, it's not really working with the camera. Also a wonderful book, fantastic illustrations. Australia has amazing mammals. Yeah, you could do a whole talk just on the mammals as well, besides the common things like kangaroos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They have some incredible mammals to see. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that those are the 2 best books at the moment to take with you.
Perfect. So
just a quick question, Trevor. I know we're running a little bit over, but I've got a bit of a selfish reason for asking this, but I thought other people must have the same question. I've got a possibility of my first out of South Africa birding, besides obviously going down to the Marion trip, and might be going up to an African country. We'll announce that quite soon. Very exciting. you know, one of the things that I'm quite nervous about is the packing side of things. And, you know, obviously there's optics, we take binoculars, possibility of a scope, camera equipment, clothes is probably like the optional side because we want to get all the other stuff in. So how do you go around, you know, for anyone who's listening, not just for Australia, maybe also just in an African context, you know, what tips and advice would you give for people that are looking to do trips in terms of packing and that? Because, you know, there's obviously, you know, regulations in terms of when stuff gets packed into how you pack stuff in terms of stuff that goes into the cargo hold and your carry-on luggage. What advice and tips would you give for somebody who's planning to do a trip in terms of packing for these trips and what to take? And also maybe also not what to take, but what also not to take. I think sometimes we can overkill and pack too much. What would you say we should pack and what shouldn't we pack, and what tips would you give around that?
Look, so you've got to look at obviously where you're going. You obviously have to have a pair of binoculars and a camera. I mean, that's first and foremost. Those are non-negotiables. A scope is not a necessity. It just depends on where you're going. If you're going to a place where you're going to be looking at waders or terns or things like that, a scope is useful. I took a scope to Australia. I think I used it 4 times in 3 weeks, but it was nice to have it there. But it is a schlep taking a scope and a tripod with as well. Often if I'm birding abroad and mostly in forests or woodlands or things like that, I don't bother taking a scope with. I would always have a torch with me, a nice rechargeable battery torch, because I do a lot of stuff at night as well, so I want some light there. My wife spoiled me for my birthday, and she got me a thermal scope, so that's now going to be, I've got to find a place for that to go in as well. So yeah, that's definitely something. A laptop to download your photos, and also I always take a 2 terabyte little external hard drive with as well, so that I've got a backup of my photos, because I'm downloading every day. I want a second backup, because I'm carrying the cards at the end of the day, so that I've got space for the next day, you know. Spare camera battery, always take with as well. Just depending on how long your camera battery lasts. If you're out in the field for a long day, you can run your camera battery down. Card reader for the camera, I suppose. I think those are the obvious things. And also international plug adapter. That's a very important thing which you can often forget. So you need to make sure whichever country you go into, what sort of plug they use, and make sure you've got, and I always take 2 of those along, just in case one breaks. And then, because amazingly, you can find international adapters almost everywhere in the world for other countries adapting to the country that you're in. Very few countries in the world use the South African plug. So you can't just go into a shop in another country and go and find an adapter from a South African 3-prong plug. Yeah, so if you're traveling with somebody else, a partner, a spouse, or whatever the case may be, another useful bit of information is often to, when you pack your clothing cases, to pack half of your stuff in your partner's case and the other way around, because invariably a bag will get lost at some point in your travels. I mean, we just had it in Australia now. We in fact, it didn't help sharing bags, because they lost both of our bags. But we've had it, they lost one bag in Papua New Guinea. I mean, they always refine them, but it takes a few days to catch up with you. And, you know, when you're on a birding trip, you're often moving around as well. So it's not like they can just send it to you at the next address. So it's useful to have some clothes, and maybe just one set of clean underwear in your carry-on luggage, because it's light, and at least you've got something with you.
I thought the justification behind that was going to be after you see your first laugher, you might need to change your underwear.
Yeah. Yeah. look, Adam, it's a difficult thing, and invariably you'll arrive and you'll work out that you've forgotten something. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But yeah, as long as you've got, I suppose, those essentials with you, you'll probably be fine. And whatever birding book or app you have for the place that you're going to as well.
Is there anything you want to add to that, John? I know you've also done some international traveling.
No, I think Trevor's summed it up nicely. It's yeah, I don't over the past couple of international trips that I've done, I haven't had the luxury of sharing clothing items, but thankfully I also haven't, touch wood, had bags lost. So yeah, I think for me, I'm probably the worst person to give advice on how to pack hand luggage, because the amount of times I've probably walked on with about a 15 or 20 kilogram hand luggage and not having it detected is actually scary. So it's a big risk. But yeah, I think perhaps one thing I might add is just to check if you are going in transit to destinations, just check what their regulations are. We got caught out in Egypt the one year. You weren't allowed binoculars or spotting scopes in your hand luggage for some obscure reason. You arrive in Egypt, in Cairo, and then all of a sudden there's like massive signs with crosses through your binoculars, and you're literally not allowed it. So we get there and we've got all of our gear with scary amounts of value, and they literally took my pair of binoculars and my scope and put it in a bin. And I was like, no, what are you doing? Like, I was about to start throwing hands. Werner was with me on that trip, and he was literally like, no, this is, now you're going to try and explain in this language barrier not to do what they're doing. So eventually we managed to sort it out by taking one of our backpacks, putting it all there and checking it out. So long story short, make sure that you just know any security regulations of destinations you're in transit through, because sometimes birders might end up drawing a short straw in that regard.
Just a quick thing. Okay, Chris is going to give us the results now. We got to do this really quickly. We are running a bit over. It's always fun when you talk about birds. John and Trevor, we've got a little WhatsApp group. Can you just drop what amount are we going for the next month so we can announce it? So before the next month, thank you for those who have given. See, I don't know how much Werner gave. Did you get the amount?
I don't have it yet. I think he,
okay.
100 Rand.
Okay, so we're about $500 short. Okay, well done, guys. Thank you for giving. So think of an amount. We've got a whole month to go. Okay, how much are we going for us, for you to do your Batelier impersonation, which is like really like thing, and secondly for John kind of like thinking the same amount for me also, and then secondly I will do my Kookaburra impersonation. We've got a whole month to practice, so we can be really good at it. So Chris, you want to give us the poll results, and we will tell the amount, how much you have to give before next month to BirdLife South Africa for those impersonations.
Okay, so we had 19 people voting in the poll, 13 of which have said that no, they have not yet seen an elegant tern, and 6 which say they have seen an elegant tern. And let me just say, I am jealous of them.
Okay, so the amount that's gone up, and I didn't tell John the amount, I didn't tell Trevor the amount, but this is the amount that we have decided. So for us to do the elegant tern impression, Batelier impression, or a laughing kookaburra impression, the amount you got to give to BirdLife South Africa, we have got to raise an amount of 5,000 Rand. So if you donate money straight, we'll pop the links and we'll put a little post on Facebook. Donate money to BirdLife South Africa. Before the next show, if BirdLife South Africa raises 5,000 Rand, what we're asking you, just send us a proof of info@thebirdinglife.com. Just drop us even if you let John know or something, just let one of us know, or just send us a proof of payment to info@thebirdinglife.com, just so we can keep a record. If we raise 5,000 Rand before the next show, we will do our impressions gladly. I think it's a good cause. I think, John, what do you think?
I think it's a great cause. And yeah, like you so rightfully said, it's not coming to us, it's not coming to the Birding Life, it's not coming to the birding show. Absolutely nothing. It's going straight to the account details that we put up here are BirdLife South Africa. So like Adam so rightfully said, we're strong supporters of BirdLife South Africa, always have been, always will be. And that money will invariably be used for their incredible conservation work. So an entire month for 5,000 rand, I definitely think is doable, especially given that we're now probably only about 4,500 short. So thanks to everybody who have donated that.
So yeah, thanks everybody. That's a wrap for this month's edition of the Burn Life Show. Also want to say thanks to Chris on producer. If you want to just give your cheers.
Cheers.
And then we had Cass at the back. She was monitoring our Facebook feed. Thanks, Cass, for all the help behind the scenes. She hasn't got a microphone. And there's another Chris who is an expert coffee maker, and it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, Chris. And we just had a birthday bra before this. So Margie's full, Urgie's too. Looking forward to a good night's sleep. But Trevor, it's been fantastic having you on the show. It's always cool to chat to you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I know people have watched now. This goes on YouTube, and I know this is going to help a lot of birders. Thank you so much for being on the show and giving up your time. We hope this is not going to be the last time. We'll be pushing your Rare Birds email every month. But thank you so much for being on the show, and also John from the bush.
Yeah, cool. Thanks very much, Adam and John, and all the Chris's behind the scene. Yeah, it's been great. I've enjoyed it. I look forward to chatting to you guys again sometime in the future. And I look forward to watching next month as you do your impressions.
So Trevor's gonna help. Trevor, get the news out. We got to raise. If we raise not just 5, let's 5,000 the bottom point. Let's raise as much as we can. It'd be quite cool. We'll announce how much we've raised next month, and we think John. I know we got generous listeners, or viewers. I know that. Hey, come on, John. You know that, eh?
Yeah, no, I think we've definitely got some generous listeners who will happily contribute to the cause. So, no, 100%, I agree. But yeah, from my side, Trevor, and everybody behind the scenes, thank you so much, Trevor, for coming on to the show. Insightful as always, making us all absolutely envious. And yeah, I think it's going to be an invaluable resource for people to reflect onto. And then obviously, everybody behind the scenes from our side, thank you so much as well. Really appreciate it. And all the viewers, thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Your support and participation has been fantastic.